You can share a mortgage, a checking account, and 25 years of history, and still be planning two completely different retirements. One of you pictures retiring at 62, the other is planning for 67. One of you assumes the kids will be fully independent. The other is quietly planning to keep helping them. That's not a relationship failure. It's an unspoken plan, and tonight we're going to put it on the table. I'm Evan Cole, and this is 2 a.m. Money Reset. No hype, no shame. Just calm, practical money guidance for the life you're living now. In Fidelity's 2026 study of more than 3,000 adults in long-term relationships, nearly half said they avoid money conversations to prevent an argument. And while 91% believed they could talk openly, only 29% said they regularly talk about day-to-day finances. That gap isn't a warning sign. It's simply a distance between what you believe and what you've actually said out loud, and that distance tends to grow the longer it goes unaddressed. This assumes you're both able to speak freely about money. If that's not your situation, this framework isn't the right tool, and there's better help linked in the description. So, tonight we're going to walk through 3 conversations that turn the silence into something you can work with. You'll meet Dana and Chris, who've been together for 21 years. Dana is 49 and Chris is 52. They're not real, just a composite we'll use to walk through the numbers together. They share a mortgage and a checking account, and their household income is about $9,600 a month, after taxes. But they've never actually mapped their full retirement plan together. So they start a single page with 3 lines on it. Numbers, family, retirement. Right now, not one of the 3 has actually been worked through. But we're going to take them one at a time. And by the end, you'll know exactly where to start in your own household. Dana handles the monthly bills and the insurance paperwork. Chris manages the investments and the retirement accounts. Neither of them is wrong. That's just how most couples divide the labor when life gets busy. And it works fine right up until the moment one person needs to step in and doesn't know where anything is. But the fear is what keeps people quiet. The partner who doesn't manage the investments hasn't asked about them in years, because asking sounds like accusing. It sounds like I don't trust you, and that question gets heavier to ask with every year that passes. Most couples don't avoid this talk because they don't care. They avoid it because nobody wants to start a fight over nothing. Wanting to see the whole picture is not the same as doubting anyone. In Fidelity's study, 60% of those with less financial responsibility worried about whether they could take over if they had to. That's not suspicion. That's just good sense. And it means both people should be able to see and access everything, no matter who actually pays the bills or logs into the accounts. So Dana and Chris sit down with a simple checklist. Income, spending, debts, savings, every account, every insurance policy, every beneficiary form. The full list is in the description. And they review beneficiaries on every single account. You've probably looked at your balance. Most people never look at who gets it if something happens. This part matters more than most people realize. Workplace plans like a 401k and personal accounts like an IRA don't work the same way. With most 401,000 type plans, a spouse is generally the automatic beneficiary, unless they've signed off on someone else. IRAs don't carry that same protection, so whoever is named on the form gets it. If you've rolled an old 401k into an IRA, that's worth a look. And if you're partnered but not married, most of these protections don't apply to you at all, which makes the paperwork matter more, not less. Dana and Chris find one gap. An old 401k from a previous employer, rolled into an IRA years ago, still has the wrong beneficiary listed. Nobody lied. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just a missing piece. And missing pieces are fixable once you can see them. So the numbers line is done. Not solved, but both of them can see everything now. Now that the numbers are visible, there's one category most couples never count together. It's the money that leaves the household to support family. And it tends to stay unspoken because both partners feel awkward about naming it out loud. Dana and Chris send $650 a month to an adult child who is working but not quite covering all their expenses. They also send $400 a month to help Chris's mom close the gap after her Social Security, and the money from selling her house cover most of her basic needs. That's $1,050 a month. It's $12,600 a year. It was never written into either partner's retirement plan, not even as a footnote. In a 2025 AARP survey of parents 45 and older, 3 out of 4 said they were financially supporting at least one adult child, and about 1 in 11 said they'd retired earlier than planned because of the demands of supporting one. That's not a judgment on helping family. It's simply what happens when the help lives in one partner's checking account and never makes it onto the shared spreadsheet where both people can see it. The fear here is real. Putting a number on love feels like making yourself the villain. Neither partner wants to be the one who says the help should stop, so nobody counts it and it becomes invisible. But that money still leaves the household every single month. Unspoken plans still shape your retirement, whether you look at them or not, and the number doesn't get smaller just because you don't say it. But counting is not cutting. It's just giving the support a review date and a ceiling both partners agreed to, so both know what to expect. AARP found that most parents already expect their support will taper within the next 5 years. So a review date isn't a betrayal. It's what both sides were probably assuming anyway, just spoken out loud, where both partners can hear it and plan around it. Dana and Chris agree on the amount, the duration, a maximum cap, and when they'll review it again. They also name which household goal this may delay, and they write it down so neither of them has to carry the reminder alone. The support doesn't have to end tonight. It just has to live on the same page as the retirement plan, so both people are making decisions from the same number. The family line now has a number on it, and a date to revisit it. That's progress, not a resolution. And that $1,050 a month is about to explain something neither of them noticed in their retirement estimates. Now comes the conversation that most couples skip entirely. It's the one where each partner says out loud what retirement actually looks like for them. Because both people have been building a plan in their head, and neither one has checked whether the plans match. Dana imagines retiring at 62. Chris is planning for 67. One expects about $5,800 a month in retirement spending. The other expects about $7,200. Both assumed the mortgage would be paid off by retirement. Neither one had actually confirmed that. At $218,000 remaining, it roughly clears around the time Chris turns 67. But if your answer is different, that's ordinary too. Among homeowners between 65 and 79, the share still carrying a mortgage has gone from about a quarter to about 4 in 10. That's not a verdict on anybody. It just means that number needs to be in yours. Dana's number and Chris's number are $1,400 apart. Their family support is $1,050 a month. So most of the distance between the two of them is the same commitment they just finished writing down. 2 conversations, same problem. The healthcare bridge is where Dana and Chris assumed the worst. Dana is 49 and Chris is 52. When Dana retires at 62, Chris is 65 and still working. So Dana may be covered as a spouse on Chris's employer plan. When Chris retires at 67, Dana is 64 and needs roughly 12 more months of coverage before Medicare eligibility. They assumed a 3-year problem. It's closer to 1 year. That depends on Chris's employer offering dependent coverage, and on that plan qualifying as group health insurance available to everyone at the company. So it's a question for the benefits administrator, not something to build a retirement plan around. Nothing about their money changed. They just found out the shape of the thing they were afraid of. There's one more number they need to check together, and most couples never look at it until it's too late. When one partner dies, the household doesn't keep both Social Security checks. The survivor generally receives the higher of the 2 benefits. That's a real change in household income, and it's worth knowing before it happens rather than after. Dana and Chris write their answers side by side on the same page. They don't have to agree. They just have to see each other's numbers. The distance between them turns out to be smaller than either of them feared. The retirement line, named, dated, and still open. Dana and Chris didn't finish, and that's the point. They exposed the disagreements, documented the assumptions, and assigned next decisions to specific people with real dates. 1 line finished, 2 still open, all 3 finally written down. Anyone who tells you a couple solved retirement over 1 dinner is selling you something. So here's your path forward. Know your full picture. Count your invisible dependents. Say your retirement vision out loud. Then pick the one that feels hardest, and start there. You don't need to do all 3 tonight. That's how people end up doing none of them. Comment NUMWs, family, or retirement, whichever. One feels hardest for you and your partner right now. That's the one to start with tonight, not all 3 at once. Every next action is just a question for someone else, whether that's a benefits administrator, a Social Security estimate, or an account beneficiary list. Nobody has to be persuaded of anything yet. If you want the exact numbers for building a catch-up plan, watch the 10-year retirement catch-up plan next. I'm Evan Cole, and this is 2 a.m. Money Reset. You don't have to solve your whole financial life tonight. Start with the next better decision.